Well, hello, folks. Here we are in an F4U Corsair sitting on the deck of the USS Intrepid, and we're off the coast of Guam, and I'm in line here to take off. I think I'm the last. These guys are going on a mission against the Japanese to an island to the north, and I've got a training movie to make for our new recruits, and it's a dive bombing mission at a target. I guess about mid-island on Guam. So uh, that's what I'm doing today. So let's just make sure I'm ready to go. I'm going to spread the wings once I get in position. And I've got trim set at 6, 6, and 1. And that's the same as on the beach. I'm going to unlock my tail wheel because I have to move up into position here eventually. And I'm going to put the fuel in the fuel selector valve in the reserve position. I'm going to move the mixture lever to the fully rich position and make sure that the RPM lever is in the full down position there. I'll move the flaps to 30 once I get the wings spread. And right now I'm going to run the engine up to, making sure the brakes are held, up to 1500 to do the magneto check or ignition check here, igniters. And there's 1500, and I'll deselect the left magneto. We get a drop in RPM, and it should recover when I go back, and it does. Okay, let's just do the right side. It does drop, and it should come back and recover, and it does. So that's good. Let's just check some of the other readings here. Looks like all our gauges are good. We'll check for the voltage. And that gauge is not working. Okay, I'm going to reset the engine now back to 800. 8 to 900 RPMs, somewhere in that range. Okay, right about there is good. And let's see, I'm going to open my oil cooler flap about a third. And my cowls are already open, and that should keep the temperature from getting too high on launch here. Just open it a little bit more there. And I'm going to cage and uncage the gyro here just to give it a new reset there, new lease on life. And again, this is going to be a mission to the target range, the north target range. There are actually two on Guam. And I'm going to drop two bombs, two 500-pounders, one from 8,000 using the dive brake, and one from 6,000 clean. Procedures are identical except for that one exception, the dive brake. And it's basically tucking the target, intended target, in the crotch between the leading edge of the wing and the fuselage, and then waiting a few seconds as it works its way back and then roll in on it. And I'm going to discuss a few things using Tacview, breaking it down, the whole dive bomb sequence and how to actually do it. And then I'll show a series of dives, one right after the other, to give you kind of the sight picture on how it's done. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for now. I'm going to go ahead and open my canopy before I forget to do that. And I think 187 will go first, then 188, and then me as far as this last row. These are all non-flyers today. They're going to reposition those once we leave the deck. And we should be moving up here shortly. Sorry about all the extra noise. That's Bob and Jake. All right, Bob, you're next. There Bob goes. All right, get this show on the road here. I think the guy from my side should be lining up here shortly. There he is. And now Jake should move up here. There he goes. And once this guy goes, then I will move up too. There he's in position, running up his engines, and he should, off he goes. Okay, setting 800%, lowering the pin, spreading the wings, and now we're just waiting for the little flap doors here and the red grommet to go flush. Should hear a tone as well. There's the tone. Those are the doors closing, and the two pegs are flush. I'll pull the handle up and twist it. The tone goes out. So now my wings are spread and locked. I'm going to set 30 degrees on the flap handle and just make one real quick check and pull the stick to the aft, run the engine up while holding the brakes. Going beyond 30 inches where on the beach I would release the brakes, but now I'm up by 45 and I'm still holding the brakes through 50. And now I'm going to go ahead and release the brakes, push the nose forward to raise the tail wheel, and get as much speed as I can by the time I get to the end of the deck here. And then just a little bit of back pressure, not much, just to keep my altitude, get the gear up. Gear are on the way up. Airspeed is increasing, and I'm going to raise the flaps now, one at a time, 2, a little bit of forward pressure, and 3. Flaps are up, trimming out all those pressures, and I'm going to come kind of in a left-hand turn. I'm going to close the canopy, and now I'm going to set a climb. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and reach down here, and I'm going to turn off my fuel pump, since I've got a engine-driven pump that is going to do the job, and I don't really need that. So I'm going to reset the prop first to 2550. Okay, and then I'm going to set my throttle to about 45 inches. Manifold pressure. And coming left a little bit further here. Trim and trim, trim, trim. Trimming up. And then I'm going to take my mixture back to lean. There it is. And now I'm looking for about 155 knots for max range climb. I'm only climbing at 8,000, so I'm not going to worry about the blower. We don't want the blower for the dive, so a climb to 8,000 feet is easy enough in neutral blower. And there's the rest of the squadron going north on their... I saw them here a second ago. Where'd they go? Huh. Maybe they're above the clouds. Okay, well. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the... like I said earlier, I'm going to put the target. I'm going to work it down here to put it in the crotch, wait a few seconds to steepen the dive, and it'll be right about in this area when I finally dive. In the meantime, let's go ahead and turn on the gun sight, and I'm going to bring up the brightness just a little bit. I'm going to select the left bomb first, and I'm going to go to nose and tail fusing. And about at 145 or so on the heading is what I want. And I got to trim that up here. And we'll go on the master arm here. Okay. Okay, we're passing 6,500 feet, about 1,800 feet to go. And I've reached the point where I'm maxed throttle and I'm not able to maintain 45 inches. This would be the time that I'd switch to low blower if I wanted to. But as I mentioned before, we're going to stay in neutral blower for the dives. And down there, just to the right of my mirror, is the peninsula. The light tan area that looks like a runway is in fact the Marine Corps base runway. And the tan area about mid-island, in about 1 o'clock there, just to the right of my gun sight, is the Army Air Corps base. We have P-51s, P-47s, and the British Spitfire are located there. Then at about 11 o'clock, you can see what looks like a runway cut out of the forest there. But it's actually just a clearing cutout. Probably at one time was going to be a runway, but 1,000 to go. But they either stopped construction or changed their mind. But it's now a strafing range. And I'm going to zoom up here because I got a little bit too much airspeed and not enough altitude. Okay. Coming up on here. Looks like we're fairly good on the cylinder head temperature. So in preparation for the dive, I am going to go ahead and close down my cowl. Since the climb is almost over and just about 300 feet to go yet. And I'm going to work the target back along the fuselage to get to the crotch, as we talked about. Trimming up. I want to have an airspeed of between 160 and 170, and an altitude about 8,300 feet MSL, which is 8,000 feet AGL. Target's about 300 feet. Okay, and we've got the master arm on, we've got the gun sight on and the brightness set. We've got the left bomb selected, and we've got fusing and nose to tail. And I'm working that crotch back, or the target back to the crotch. Now, if you look down there, our target is that little white circle at the end of that snake-looking cutout in the forest there, just to the left of the strafe range. And losing a little altitude here, working it back. I'd say it's in the crotch now, so wait a couple of seconds to really get it closer. I think that's getting pretty close. And we got airspeed, we got altitude, and here we go. Putting the dive board out, rolling, pulling to the target, and then rolling up, setting my aim for lateral, using the longitudinal G to make it track properly, looking for the right altitude. There we go, pulling out, and closing the dive boards, which is the landing gear, main landing gear, and they're up. That's good. Climbing up again.
Victory 107, you're hit at 360 for 25 feet.
Okay, I am going to open the cowling for the climb, and I'm also going to change the bomb to the right bomb, and I'm going to set about 45 on the throttle as we climb up to 6,000 feet. And trim, trim, trim. If you're not trimming, you're probably not flying this airplane properly. Trim allows the airplane to slip through the air better, makes flying the airplane easier. And if you do it enough, it'll become second nature, and you'll do it without even thinking about it. It's just something you have to do. And if you're using the mouse to do it, then you're doing something wrong. Okay, there's 500 feet, so I'm going to go ahead and start turning back inbound, 1,000 to go. And just remember, this drop is going to be without the dive brake. This will be a clean dive. Same procedures, minus that. Take a look at the temperature. The cylinder head temperature looks reasonable. It's in the green. And likewise with the oil temperature. And again, I want to put the target in the crotch where the leading edge of the wing meets the fuselage. And then wait a few seconds for the dive. Okay, there's the altitude, airspeed are both good. Leveling it off and setting the trim. Trim. And reaching over here and closing the cowlings. If I left the cowlings open, the wind would just blow them back. So I'm just going to work my way over to the target. Roll, pull, roll up, and track the target. Not bad.
Victory 107. You're hit at 123 degrees for 55 feet.
Okay. Now it's time to, we're going to do a quick review using Tacview, then some quick dives, a series of dives, one right after the other. And we'll fly on back to the base, down there to the Marine Corps base on that peninsula just off my nose here. But before we do that, we're going to deselect some switches. Let's get rid of the master arm. And we'll turn the gun sight off. We don't need that. We'll turn the weapon and the fusing off here. And we'll head down to the beach. Trim. Just so you can see, there's hands off. And there's the Army Air Corps base right there. Okay folks, here we are in Tacview. This is the first dive that I performed, and it's the one from 8,000 feet, the one that I used the dive brake with. I'm going to break the dive into 5 distinct phases. First, the roll-in decision and roll initiation. Phase 2 is the roll-up performance and pointing placement. Phase 3 I'll call dive, lateral aim, and horizontal speed control. Phase 4 is altimeter and release decision, and the final phase is escape and evade. Phase 1, roll-in decision and roll initiation. The roll-in decision is determined by the sight picture discussed earlier, i.e. placing the target in the crotch where the wing meets the fuselage, and then delaying the roll-in a few seconds in order to steepen the dive. The desired delay can manifest by using a slow roll or by delaying the pull to target once inverted, by floating for a second or two, prior to pulling the nose to the roll-up point. Phase 2, roll-up performance and pointing placement. The roll-up action will determine lateral aiming air. Roll angle and dive momentum will determine left-right aiming air early in the dive, and only minor corrections are possible and diminish as the dive develops. Phase 3, dive, lateral aim, and horizontal speed control. Once roll-up is complete, immediately adjust your lateral aim point, bank angle that is, so that your aim point crosses the target to correct for wind. Control the horizontal speed of your aim point, i.e. pivot across the target, using longitudinal stick. Be careful not to use negative G, especially during weapon release. 1 G at release is desirable to prevent aircraft bomb collisions or throwing the bomb long off target. Phase 4, altimeter and release decision. As your dive approaches 2,000 feet AGL, prepare to pickle. pickle prior to pull at 1G. The bomb should fall short of the sight line according to bomb fall physics. 5. Escape and evade. During the pullout, remember to close the dive brake. Stay low, but above 1,000 feet to gain airspeed and avoid the weapon's frag pattern, which has a lethal radius of 1,000 feet in all directions. Also, don't fly more than a few seconds in a straight line. Bomb fall time from 2,000 feet AGL with the aircraft's downward velocity is about 4 seconds. Okay, folks, here we are coming back into the Marine Corps base on the peninsula down there at about 1 o'clock, 12:30. And I'm going to go through the checklist. All my weapon switches are off. Tail wheel is, we need to unlock that. And we'll unlock it here. It is unlocked. And I'm descending to 700 feet. 295 is the heading for the runway about. And let's see, we want the fuel selector in reserve, which it is, and the blower in neutral. It's in neutral. Okay, the electric fuel pump, I want to turn that on for the landing. I'll back up the engine-driven pump. And coming down, passing through 2,500 feet now. I'm going to set the RPM down to about 24. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the canopy here. Yeah, we're below 300, so I can open up the canopy. Okay. And make sure that the mixture is in auto rich. And descending to 700 feet again. And the cowlings are almost closed, but the temperature is pretty low. I'm going to just crack them a little bit here. Okay, just to make sure they don't get a whomp on me. Okay, there's 700 feet and about 160 knots in the brake. And I got to trim it up, trim, trim, trim. Okay. And the gear speed is about 380 knots, so I'm well below that. So once I start the turn for downwind, I can lower the gear. Flaps got a 200 knot, and I'm below that as well. So I think we can put the gear down and put in at least 3 notches of flaps. And maintain about 700 feet AGL, or MSL rather. And just slowly slowing down here. There's 120 knots. Still 700 feet. Trim, trim, trim. There's the airfield. And now that I'm going to go ahead and I'm down to about 500 feet. And I got to trim it all up here. Trim, trim, trim. And I'm going to go the additional 2 notches to 50 on the flaps, and that's what we've got. And I'm going to start my turn now to final, being as easy on the throttle as possible, and just continue the descent. And I'm looking for about a 3-point landing, and because that'll keep me slow. And I'm always practicing to be able to land at the slow end of the speed range for short field landings if I ever need to do that. It's what the book calls for, and so that's what I'm going to do. I know a lot of people like the 2-point landing, but it's just kind of an easy way out. Easy way to make a relatively smooth landing, but you can also bounce quite a bit. And I'm just trying to come in and skirt this this tree, which I think maybe I'll cut down one of these days. Okay, and then just come down and hold the nose off the ground and put the power back to idle. Hold the nose off. Okay, and just use the rudders to stay down the runway and You want to set 800 on the RPM. And coming to a stop here. 800. And then just taxi in. And you want to go someplace, you want to taxi so you don't run into anybody, and the best way is to use the taxiway here, such as it is. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and raise the flaps all the way up, and they're up. And this is also a road, so I'm looking out for vehicles as well. Looking at the temperature, it looks pretty cool. Both the oil and the cylinder head temperature. Got one real quick look to see if there's any traffic. Okay, and this is my parking spot over right here on the right. So I just kind of turn in, and there's George, my crew chief, plane captain, who is kind of watching after me here. Okay, come in and stop right about here, and then add power. I'll hold the right brake. Turn right around. Okay, stop. And hold the brakes and set 800. Okay, and then get out the checklist. And the checklist starts with wings up, but we're not going to do that today for the reasons given. It's just not smart when you're at the field, when you have plenty of room to park. And then next thing is the mixture cutoff. So I'll reach up, grab the mixture handle, and that should shut down the engine. And it certainly does. And then I'll reach underneath here and I'll put the igniters in off. And I'm going to go ahead and put the fuel in off on the selector here. Turn off the cockpit lights. And let's see. And then turn the fuel pump off. And then turn the battery off. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. That's field landing and park. And I guess I will see you in the next video. And please remember to subscribe.